Hi, I've just been reading an excellent article. Here it is here. That's in the Age here in Melbourne, or the Sydney Morning Herald in Sydney. In the Age, it was called "Defuse Your Ticking Time Bomb," and in Sydney, it was called "This is Exactly What Fixes Marriages: One Size Fits All Therapy." And it answers the question: are there certain psychological tools or tips that can help all of us, regardless of our circumstances, age, or particular challenge, to be happier? And that's a pretty big question. And the answer is yes. And this article contains some really useful tips. It's very much the sort of work that, the sort of stuff that I work with clients with. And it's been written really well. So I thought, as an unusual thing, I'll read it to you. So I hope you don't mind me glancing away as I read it. But so the answer is yes. There are tools and tips that can help us be happier. Now the question is, why am I wired the way I am? Says Lizzie Abrahams, a Sydney-based psychotherapist. It's a foundational question each of us should ask ourselves. Because how we were cared for when we were small, if our needs were tended to, or if they weren't, for example, primes us to respond in a certain way to other people later in life, says Abrahams. This means that we enter into relationships as adults, primed, unknown to the others, to feel rejected, out of control, or unworthy. And it's not said there, but if there was something lacking in our early childhood years. So if I'm wired to feel unworthy, my partner displaying sexual desire for me might be part of what's critical to me to feel okay, says Abrahams, explaining the genesis of a typical overreaction that can lead to conflict. So what happens if they don't want to have sex for a month, or if they're not inclined to? Does it mean that I'm not good enough anymore? We have this expectation that they, the other person, is going to play a role to keep us feeling safe. And when they don't, we can get very upset. The problem is that other people don't know this about us. I put it in terms of we all have our own map of the world. We see the world through our own filters, and no one else sees the world exactly as I see it, or as anybody else. It's totally unique. It's as unique as your fingerprint. And nobody else can fully understand and comprehend your map of the world. So they can't, and getting back to the article, they can't read our minds, just as we can't read theirs. A lot of people mistakenly think they can read another person's mind, but you can't. Do an experiment with somebody, get them to think about something and see if you can read their mind as they do that. So to simply understand this inherent gap between the way we are all primed to see the world is the key to having more harmonious relationships, says Abrahams. This is exactly what fixes marriages, she says, adding that it also improves our relationships with everyone else in our life. I mean, our marriages or close relationships are only one of the type of relationships we have. It enables us to have greater compassion for each other and therefore greater tolerance. That, and realizing it's not another person's job to make us feel safe, of course, just understand that it's not another person's job to make us feel safe. That's our responsibility. Yes, we have a right to expect that our basic needs like respect, kindness, and connection are met in a relationship, but it isn't a partner's job to fix something inside of us that is broken, says Abrahams. I believe for us to really be okay in life, we have to find a way to be okay within ourselves. Such an important point. She offers two questions to ask yourself if you're okay. Would I want to date me? And if I was dating now, would I pretend I'm not like this? And that's a very good question. I have clients to say a simple saying and see how they feel, examine how they feel when they say it. And the simple saying is, I deeply and completely and profoundly accept myself. So why don't you try saying that to yourself and see what resonates within you? Do you feel that that's absolutely true? Or is there some hesitation? Or do you feel you're lying to yourself? That's very important. I deeply and completely and profoundly accept myself. Just try that. And if you don't, try saying to yourself several times a day, every day, put it on the mirror, say it over and over until you can say it confidently and with complete confidence and assurance. Anyway, getting back to the article, people's lives are also improved immeasurably when they can learn to identify and then express exactly what they're feeling when they're close to tearing their hair out, says clinical psychologist Dr. Rowan Burkett. This might sound ridiculous. Your partner keeps coming home late from work even though you've repeatedly asked them not to. So you let rip. You don't give a crap about me. Or your staff member continually fails to complete the to-do list you've given them, and so on. You're angry, right? Well, yes and no, says Burkett, a clinical psychologist who treats couples and individuals of all ages. Sure, you might be angry, but that's only a secondary emotion. Underlying that emotion, he says, is a primary and more vulnerable emotion like sadness, anxiety, or fear. This is the first emotion you feel when something happens. If you don't know you're feeling anxious when your partner is coming home late, how will you even know what to express to your partner, he says. But if you do and you express it, the person can then respond by, oh my God, I'm sorry you're left alone. Actually, I was just working really hard because I wanted to give you the holiday you keep talking about. The person hears that and then thinks, oh my God, how could I have thought they were uncaring? In a work situation, identifying your primary emotion can help you ask for structures or boundaries to put in place to attend to them. So if you find you have a sort of a disproportionate reaction to situations, it's worth exploring it. This is probably due to something that's happened to you much earlier in your life, probably in the early years between sort of 0 and 7, which is called the mental blank, that total mental blank. Anyway, I have to forget. It's a very critical part of your life where you accept that everything you're told is absolutely true. I mean, I listen to my 6-year-old granddaughter, and the things she's been told, she'll tell you with so much confidence they're absolutely true. And I would love the rest of her life to be as confident as that. But of course, as she gets older, she'll learn the shades of grey, and everything she has been told may not, in fact, be true. So it's the priming period, the ages of 0 to 7. So things that happen to you in that part of your life, when your brain is still developing, tend to sit there and be part of your identity. And your brain, of course, at that age isn't fully able to comprehend everything that's going on and understand and decipher and filter right from wrong and what's correct or what's not correct. And many people take on board these beliefs that hold them back throughout their lives. You know, I'm not good enough. I'm ugly. I can't do maths was one that I had for many years as a child. Many things like that hold us back. And so, in fact, that's the work that I do. I help people let go of these hidden barriers to success. So anyway, I hope you find that article helpful. I'll try and put the link somewhere where you can find it. I found it was useful. And it expressed very well some of the things that I deal with my clients. So if you want any help with this, certainly direct message me or contact me in one of the links on one of my sites, and we can have a chat about it and see what we can do to help you. Okay, thanks very much indeed.